Hi, so we are just starting the public hearing, and Stan is just going to open it up as soon as I get my computer open.
Okay, go for it.
I take it you didn't want to ride, Dan, from Harvey to over here.
Yeah, and can you come back and get me?
I'm guessing you're in like Turtle Lake right now, so that wouldn't work.
Yeah, I'm coming up on Turtle Lake. That's a pretty good assessment.
Oh yeah, that is a good guess, and I know my geography.
Yeah, you do.
Dana, you just say the word.
She's trying to get her computer going.
Sorry, I should have had this on my kids. Okay.
Is it now?
6.
You want to-
Okay, whenever.
No. No. Here. Okay. I'm going to call the Wells County Zoning Board public hearing meeting to order. And the purpose of this meeting is to have a public hearing on the motion we made at the last meeting, and I'll read it. All buildings shall be placed at least 200 feet from county and state highway right-of-ways, and at least 200 feet from county road right-of-ways, and at least, and this is the addition that we added into this, was and at least 133 feet from the center of any township road for the purpose of preventing hazardous accumulation of snow and to allow for future widening of public right-of-ways. Tree plantings, shelter belts should be planted in accordance to USDA. We also eliminated the word structure, thinking that's somewhat vague and it just includes building. This is a public meeting and forum for that. Are there any objections or comments on this change? Any comments?
Now, can I ask a question?
Certainly. It's
Will this change, like when you're doing this new variance from the road, correct? From buildings, does that go for structures like those wind towers too?
I never signed my name like
Wind towers have their own definition and setback, but that would be considered.
Yeah, it's a permanent structure.
So we took away structure and left buildings. Buildings would be like your buildings and that kind of thing that was under my assumption.
Okay, so then that would mean then that they could put a wind tower that close to the road?
No, because our current zoning has wind towers way farther away than that, correct?
Yeah, we ain't changing it, but it's 1,250 feet.
From a road.
From a place.
No, from a road.
I don't know what it is.
It's
a
greater.
mile from a place.
It's
That's
greater
what we
than that.
did to go to you guys.
We did a mile setback on
Residences, but we're talking
Right.
about like a gravel road, like a township county road.
According to 12.1.5.2, each wind turbine shall be set back from the nearest public road or above ground communication or electrical line at a distance not less than 200 feet determined at the center of the existing right-of-way.
Okay. So they have their own, which is a little bit more, so that would be, it would have to be set back 200 feet on a township road where buildings would be 133 feet. Good question. Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion that we recommend this change to the county commission.
So moved.
Moved by Warren, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Bob, you got beat out. Any other discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Good. Don't need a second. Public hearing is over. Okay.
Wait.
But now we have to do that.
We gotta wait for Janet to catch up.
Oh, no, now you can.
Oh, gee, you're pretty fast.
No, we got it. We gotta do the minutes.
Just a minute here, I gotta find my right sheet of paper, planning commission.
Right here,
Other, yeah.
this side. Right here.
So, like, the agenda's here.
That
and
side.
we're gonna-
This side. Okay, call the meeting, regular zoning board meeting to order, okay? I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So move.
Moved by Boone, second. Second by Bob. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Hold on now. And fast, but not that fast. Okay.
Purpose of the meeting is, and correct me, Janet, now, it is really threefold. We really want to put some wordage in place in reference to data centers.
The very first one is on wind energy facilities.
Well, okay, let's stick with that. All right, okay.
I gave all of you a copy of the most current wind tower ordinance. This does include the proposed changes that were sent back to the zoning as of this morning. Yep. Page 4.
Okay, well,
So this would be, this
I've
would,
got a question here. Why you guys got the papers and we don't got them to look at? What's the deal here?
this is a regular meeting, so.
Is this a regular meeting or what's the deal here?
yeah, it is a regular meeting.
Well, you got papers. We don't, how come we don't get papers?
What do you want?
Well, you're gonna, okay, then why have the meeting? You're gonna discuss stuff on that paper. Can we follow along? You better do something. It's a public meeting. You better hand out literature.
What's that?
At the commission, I get everything that you guys see up there. It's handed to me by the auditor.
Here you go, you get all my stuff. Come get it.
Do you want it?
Or do we have to deliver it to you?
Don't you got copies to hand out? Look how many people are sitting here.
These are copies of what I handed out.
Is there extra copies too?
I think there's 5 extra copies of everything, because I didn't know how many
Okay,
to
that's
make.
what I'm asking for. Whatever, right, to look at with you. I'll pass them on.
I'd like a set
I
of
know.
copies, please.
Who else is that one? The sheriff.
Mine says Orange
You give them
Well, that's because that's what
I gave them a copy.
they got multiple copies.
Yeah, I think there's,
Okay.
I think
There's a difference.
There's a bunch of different ones.
yeah,
Did you type this up after our,
I don't know how many different ones there are.
This?
no, not that, the agenda?
Some of it, yes.
Maybe I should break it to you guys. You're gonna love to hear it. We had a county commissioners meeting today and tabled the 1 mile setback based on the information and dialogue that we heard today at the meeting back to this zoning board that we would reconsider the 1 mile setback. And for really 3 reasons, okay? 2 people from the wind tower people came there in that we felt the last public meeting, we only heard one side of the story. In fact, we all left saying, you know, why'd you even come in here when it didn't seem like anybody was in favor? Okay. There was testimony to that regard, and I wish Dan was here. He was given, what, how many votes? 30, 40, 50 cards of people.
a stack of stuff this high to give to people.
Well, testimonials
Yeah.
that people were for the project. Okay. We didn't hear that at the public meeting. Secondly, these guys have been working on this project for upwards to 4 to 5 years, knowing full well that Eddy County had a 1,250-foot setback and so did we. Now in baseball terms, it's the 9th inning. They're ready to go to work here, and all of a sudden we say, oh, wait a minute, we're gonna make it a mile. Is that ethical?
Can I say
That was
something?
their point. I'm not
Can I say something?
preaching.
I guess the one of the points is I just got involved in this because of I didn't understand.
And you are who?
I'm John from Rustland Township, John Perbix.
Okay.
The 1,250-foot setback, well, the point in that everybody showing up to that meeting last time is not that they're opposed to it, but they're opposed to not having a say if, like myself, I'm surrounded by somebody else's property, and they could put one right up next to my house, 1,250 feet, a 700-foot tower, and so alls we were asking, or alls everybody's asking for, is to do the mile setback with a variance, so they have to come talk to me, and some people probably aren't opposed to that, but they just want the option for that to happen. That's the big thing.
We're well aware of that. I mean, that point was well
'cause
taken at that
a
meeting.
lot of people.
And it was brought up today at the meeting too.
Yeah.
Just exactly what you said,
A
Joe.
lot of people are that I'm sure these wind tower people target the landowners that don't live in the area, knowing that all they're thinking about is dollar signs. They're not thinking about having to live with them either. I'll just about bet. And why are they so secretive? They've been working on them for 4 years. And rumor has it that they're doing test drills and stuff somewhere else in the county. Nobody knows about it, but they're secretive about it. Well, if they weren't secretive about it, then people would start thinking about it and say, well, we better talk about this setback thing. But nobody knew it, probably. I don't know. I don't live over that way, so I can't say for sure, but I never knew nothing about the wind towers over there until about 2 months ago from somebody that lives there.
They've had a number of public meetings over there.
Yeah, well,
Over there, how many they had in Wells County?
None but the people from Wells County, and we talked about that, and we're in the process now of having one in Wells County, but
Yeah. Yeah, I was at your meeting today.
and they had it in Rockford, granted, but it's in the eastern edge of Wells County, and they assume it's just as close for those people to go to Rockford as coming to.
well, the thing is
And I really don't, I hate to say it, but I didn't really have a concern. I didn't hear about this till a month ago when it was in the paper. I didn't even know this was coming. By the way, my name's Dave Knudsen. I live in Fram Township. Wells
Well,
County.
wait a minute for the minutes.
But anyway,
Okay.
I didn't even know about this coming, but my concern is future projects.
yeah, that's
Because that's what's gonna affect me,
Right.
and if they're for it, that's fine. They can have it, but I don't know that my area is definitely for it, so I guess I'd like to be protected. And
I just well, like I said,
we have property in Fairview and Bryan, but that's all. I just think it was kind of, I didn't know about this. I didn't know this was coming until it was in the paper.
Okay.
And the reason people are speaking up now is because what you guys do right now is going to affect everything that moves forward in the future. Because it's not just going to be that little corner of the county where they're going to try to put these wind towers. They're going to try to cover across the state. And that's the whole plan.
and then the big thing is this power. It don't benefit us none except for a little bit of money. All the power, we're short on power here. We got to run a generator at our farm because we don't have enough power. And we got that massive power line going right by our place. Plus, these wind towers. It all goes to Minnesota.
Yeah.
All that
Well,
power does.
This is from Minnesota.
That's their prerogative. I mean, you can't.
And they're targeting North Dakota because Minnesota has the population so much higher that it's more difficult for them to do it there versus here.
Well, and it's more profitable to send it there than to sell it here.
you know, and
They'll pay more for it.
so, you know, I just,
Well,
if the guy had an option, you know, the people that live around him and that mile setback would do that.
well, and
A half mile would, that, you basically don't have a choice in the matter.
How many towers are they putting in Wells County that's gonna cause a problem?
we heard from the two guys, actually, it was the CEO of the company, came to me from Minneapolis and spoke to us today, and they basically said that a mile setback will kill the project. They'll move out.
Yeah, but they
But
said,
I'm just saying what they say.
right.
Don't be up the message.
The other guys,
Okay.
the other guys that were here had them maps, and they said it was like 2 towers, the mile setback.
Okay, and here's the problem I have with all this in that, and they said it again today, and Boone helped me out, and he says, you guys, what you do here is really important because whatever you do, Eddy County will do. I'm thinking, 80% is in Eddy County. Why are they relying on us?
And we got, right, we got 15 of them there, and they said there was 90 today. Some of them other meetings, they said there was 115, so where's these other 25 gonna go?
Well,
I don't know
That
which number to believe.
doesn't matter.
see,
We
that's,
talked
It
to
does matter, though.
somebody in New Rockford, and that low number is that
90?
they can get the 600 feet. But if they can't get all the 600 feet tower and they go to lower, that means there's
Then there'd
more.
be more of them.
More
So,
of 'em.
right, that's-
See, that's the first I
makes
heard
sense.
of that.
Okay.
I'm in Fram Township. So I did some research on Eddy County's website today. They have a hearing set for June 11th, I believe, to talk about their wind tower and their distancing for their zoning, is how I interpreted it. My feeling about the meeting today was you have these people coming in, they've been working on this a long time, trying to keep it a secret from us people. I'm new to this whole township thing, and then they're trying to create this whole story about, because it changed from the one meeting to the next meeting, the amount of towers, what would kill the project. The one person said, you know, if you do that, I would like to have no less than a half mile with a a mile with a variance. And then today, the other guy was saying something totally different. So, plus the meeting in New Rockford, how was that communicated? Was it only communicated to the people that are signed on to this project?
I think so.
So how would anyone else know?
You'd have to ask the people from, because there's really only 2 townships affected. Okay, what do they do
Right
ahead of
now.
time? They make a, what's it called? A field or a grid where the land is included, and it only includes, help me out, the 2 townships.
Brennan and Valhalla.
Valhalla,
They got their
right.
own zoning, they can have their own zoning.
Right now.
And they might have been invited, I don't know.
Right. But I think 2 meetings ago, you had indicated that, or somewhere, that this was just the beginning for Wells County.
Well,
So that's why we need to be involved.
You're correct, because that was the intent here. Like Boone said, Walhalla has their own zoning, and the other one threatened that if we don't have a mile setback, they're gonna go on their own, and since then, they said they're gonna go on their own. So what we do with this wind farm is a moot issue, right? However, we wanna put something in place for the future that might affect, obviously, the whole county.
Yes. So, you know, when we had your meeting here, the planning meeting.
The first one or the second?
The first one or the second one?
When all the people were here.
When all the people were here.
The first one or the second?
Well, there was
That
quite
was
a
the
few
second.
people the
Okay,
first
was it 2
meeting,
weeks?
really a lot the
2
second.
weeks ago.
So it had to be the second
First one I went to, and they said that they could live with the wind guy was here, and I don't remember his name, you got his.
Tim.
Tim Ross.
And he said he could live with, they could build a project with 1 mile. And there was only 2 that were affected, and they said, I got the impression that it was, but the landowners were the ones that would be affected, so they were gonna give them a variance. You know, with a variance, they could do it. They said, yep, no, it's not a problem. And then we came to this meeting and all of a sudden there was all these wind farms that were affected, more. And I wonder if they went from a habitable building to a, you know, like anywhere where there was a building, you know, they said, well, if there's any building there, you know, we gotta be careful of that, you know, because somebody could renovate it. So I think they changed their criteria. I suspect they changed their criteria to make it look bad so they could get a half. And another thing is, there's still things that need to be talked about, I think, for the long-term one, setbacks from property lines, you know. Where does it start? Does it start at the tower? Is it the guy wires? You know, I mean, what is the distance? There's a whole bunch of stuff. I can rate the whole, I pointed to.
So going basically at your guys' meeting today, you've decided to send it back to the zoning to relook at this. We're gonna have a public hearing on it.
Eventually.
Yes.
I did talk to Tim Ross after the meeting, and I walked out.
Okay.
And he does want to do a public forum here. He was asking me where locations would be good for having it, and I'm like, well, there's probably going to be a lot of people there, so I recommended Festival Hall.
Okay.
He,
this probably wouldn't be big enough. I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, if they show up.
But he said that within the next couple of days he'd get a hold of me as to what date the public forum would be. So that's what I know. That's what I was told anyway.
Were there any ground rules or whatever as far as the public forum? Is it just going to be the wind tower company running the meeting?
Because it would come out of their pocket, it would be them. So they would be the one doing the public forum, and then we would have a public hearing a few days later after everybody has heard the information, kind of come up with their opinion, and then, but we can't have a public hearing. Well, we can on whatever's decided with the setback, if you decide to keep it a mile with variance or half mile or whatever. But honestly, if you're going to start adding or taking away from your ordinance, I'd rather just have the whole ordinance adjusted or whatever you want to add to it, done all at once. We can just get it done and recorded and on its way.
So when they have that form, that's just going to be their side of it. They're not going to have other people there.
The way that I understood it is that it would be them explaining their project, and then it would be public, so then anybody could stand up from
And
anywhere
ask
within the
questions.
county.
Just
ask
within the
questions
county?
and-
What if other people have input from other counties that have
Well,
had to
they
deal
would-
with these?
They would likely be, because it is public, just like us, we had Eddy County here for ours. I'm assuming that it would be just as open to Eddy County or other counties as it was when they had one in New Rockford.
Actually, more so, because that last meeting we had, and as chairman, I thought Eddy County people dominated the conversation, and it really wasn't about them. It was a Wells County issue.
The reason they dominated the conversation is because they've been given more information than we've been given. So we asked them to come and start to speak on what they said.
We're just learning
Yeah.
about it now,
Right.
so, I mean, I was glad they were here because at least I heard a little bit of both sides.
You didn't hear any of both sides. It was all negative.
Well, that guy
100%.
standing up from the wind tower company.
The guy from the
Wow.
wind tower company, he
So,
did
I
stand
mean,
up and
I
say.
heard a little bit of both sides.
We really didn't, I hadn't written a note for myself, don't say anything, you know, just sit and listen, because I'd never been to a county commissioner meeting in my life, and I knew nothing about these wind towers. At the Eddy County, they are stakeholders. If they weren't here, we wouldn't have really known anything. They were the ones that asked the questions. And also, I know, I agree with you, they dominated it. But also, the letter you read to open the meeting was from somebody who I don't think is even in North Dakota. So, I mean, that was a positive letter on it. And you opened it and read
He's
it.
from New Rockford.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He owns land there. He doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't
Brothers
reside
brothers
here.
there, or a brother and a cousin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't reside.
Myrie.
They don't reside here, right? Correct.
Nobody's got a couple brothers here and they got land here, but whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
they're together, them three.
Okay, but I'm just
Myers.
saying, so to me, that was not somebody, I mean, that was kind of not a, if the County guys shouldn't be included, well, then maybe he shouldn't either. But anyway, that was my take on it. I thought, wow, this is a guy who doesn't even live here. And two brothers talked about, well, my brother still lives there. So I was like, well, this guy doesn't live here.
But he's got land here.
Okay.
He probably has land here, over there.
But does he live on that property?
Well, the bottom line comes down to this, is we had our public hearing, we listened to what that is. I mean, we gave the recommendation to a mile setback to go to the county commissioners.
Right.
Now what it is the county commissioners are sending it back to us. It's gonna move forward, we're gonna have this forum that they could come out and talk. We'll have to have a public hearing after that.
Wow.
There it is you have an opportunity. We had an opportunity for Wells County people to come out here and support or against. We had a lot of people from Eddy County. Here's the opportunity to do that, get the information. Is it gonna sway the way I voted? I don't know. Well, time will tell. You know, I was for the mile setback. But could I be changed? Yes. I might not be changed. You gotta look at it all. We gotta let this process work out.
Correct.
I mean, we can sit and this and that, but we need to let them have their forum. We'll have our public meeting. Hopefully a lot of people from Wells County that may be not affected right now, but could be affected in the future, come out, have their 2 cents. There might be people for it. There might be people against it. And let us, as our zoning committee, then go take that information and or what are we going to do to send back to the county commissioners? Are we going to keep it the same, or are we going to change it? I mean, that's what it comes down
Just going to
to.
be the setback. I think it's going to be anything else you want to add or take away from the entire ordinance. Because at the last meeting, I think you guys somebody had mentioned, adding an ordinance for maybe a minimum dollar amount for, like you were talking about.
I was going to talk to Tim about that.
Yeah, and then something about, making sure that we have, even if they say they're going to do it, still have an ordinance for bonding if or when they have to replace or take down or what have you with the end cycle of those. Just some extra things that were not thought of in 2009 when it was really, really new as far as wind energy comes to play, that maybe we needed to learn from, so to speak.
And are the wind tower people still pushing for that 50-foot clearance where we have 75?
They would still need to have a variance. There's no changing that ordinance at this time. That's why we haven't said anything about it.
Because I don't think we need them closer to the ground.
There's an ordinance here that says that, let me look here.
It's 12.1.6, I
Yep,
think.
the blade tip of any wind turbine shall at its lowest point have ground clearance of no less than 75 feet.
Oh, yeah.
So they would need a variance from your...
If they went to 50.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But we're not going to change that ordinance.
No.
They would just have to file a variance for it.
I think after they have their public meeting, this committee needs to revisit this whole.
I think it can be done, a lot of it can be done before that. And then add and change in before you have your public hearing. Whatever you've learned about that.
2009, there's probably a lot of things that have changed. I guess this is the first time I've seen this.
Oh, it's in your packet. You just got to go through it.
Well, I haven't got that piece yet. No, I think we probably need to revisit.
And that's why we're here tonight, just to kind of read through it and see.
And, thanks, Jana, and I should have brought the Logan County around it. And these guys said this too. It isn't like we're reinventing the wheel here. There's many wind projects in North Dakota. Every county has a zoning ordinance. So instead of trying to drum up something ourselves, it's good to look at other counties, see what they've done and what really fits for us.
So what I gave you guys was Stark County, which Larry Dan Duran brought the copy of that. And then there's one from Burley County, if I remember correctly. And Divide County.
I got the one in Logan, I just
There
didn't.
was a couple that I tried to look for, but they're set up and confused me and I didn't find it.
Uh-oh.
Is there a device?